Garrett, why don't you start? I started the last three, the times, but I'll get your first four picks first.
Yeah, my first four picks. I'll go ahead and give you 1 through 4. So I got 1, Georgia. They'll, like I said, they're number 1 until they're not. I've got 2 as Michigan, right? Number 2 until they're not. And then here are number 3 and 4, right? Is where we kind of, I don't know, say get some shakeup. So a little bit different, right? I don't think there's going to be a surprise Big 12 team get in here like we've seen the past couple of years. So I've got number 3. I've actually got Clemson coming back into the top 4 to the playoffs. And then at number 4 is Ohio State. I just I can't, even though I don't think they're going to win the conference championship game. I think their only loss comes against Michigan, and I think that one loss is obviously going to be enough to beat out any of these other Pac-12 or Big 12 teams that are going to have more than one loss, right? Even if Texas is able to make the championship, I don't think that they'll be able to get there with um, so I think they'll be 10-2. I guess is what I'm trying to say. So with 2 losses, I think USC, if they win, they'll get there with 2. Any Pac-12 that wins, like I said, I think all those 3 teams can go 10-2. I think the Big 12 teams who win will go 10-2, regardless of who comes out. And so whenever you get a 2-loss team, even with the conference championship, I still don't think it'd be enough to keep Ohio State out of it with just 1 loss. And so I've got Georgia at 1, Michigan at 2, Clemson at 3, and Ohio State at 4.
Yeah, we've got very similar. I have Georgia at 1. I have Ohio State at 2. I picked Ohio State over Michigan. And then I've got Texas at 3. I think Texas, again, in my head, Texas is going undefeated, beating Alabama week 2, winning the Big 12. You got to put them 3. Then I have Michigan at 4. Again, just because they played the second best team in the nation and lost, that shouldn't count them against them. I have Clemson as the first one out at 5. I think they have 1 loss winning the ACC. I can see that. I've just gone in the past. They have put the 4 best teams, not the 4 most deserving teams in. So, Clemson may be more deserving. I don't think Clemson's a better team than Michigan. I think Michigan gets the nod over Clemson.
Yeah, I mean, it's if Texas goes undefeated, then hands down they should be in the playoff, right? If any team goes undefeated, yes. I don't know how you can keep them out of that, but especially with that. So if that does happen, if everything happens like you're happening, I think you've nailed it perfect, right? With the Texas going in there, and so. And then that's the only problem too, is that when you're if Clemson is a 1-loss team versus Michigan is a 1-loss team. Well, if Clemson wins this is my problem, right? Because if Clemson wins their championship and Michigan isn't even playing in their championship, they both have 1 loss. Like I feel like you have to give it to Clemson, because they played an extra game, right? So instead of 11-1, they'd be 12-1 technically. And they won a conference championship, whereas Michigan didn't even play in a conference championship, right? And that was kind of what was kind of going on last season, right, where Ohio State was getting in because USC lost their conference championship. Like if USC just wins their conference championship, they get in. If Clemson wouldn't have lost to South Carolina, they won their championship, they would have been in, and Ohio State would have been out. So a lot of different things. Like even TCU, who went undefeated, because they went undefeated, they were able to get in. Right, and even losing the conference championship, they still got in because they went undefeated in the regular season. So, yeah. a lot of different things there that can happen. But at least we're in agreement with the top 5 teams. Right? We just have Clemson and I guess not me with Texas, but
Texas, yeah.
But Clemson in there. I just think that. Yeah, like I said, if you're a 2-loss team, I just don't see a way of getting into the 14 playoffs, right? Which is why I'm excited for the 12-team playoffs, because these teams that do have 2 losses that are still competitive and deserve to be in the playoffs, just not like it's a top 4 to get in the top 12. That's going to open up a whole lot more fun. Yes. So I'm super excited for next year for that to start, because a lot of these teams still, I think, deserve to be in the playoffs. You just can't put them in as top 4 with 2 losses versus teams with no losses or only 1 loss, right? So if there's a 2-loss team, unless there's a wild 4 of the top teams are 2-loss teams, then you'd have to put one of them in there, obviously. Yeah. But I just don't see that happen, because like I said, Ohio State, I think their only loss is against Michigan. So I think Michigan and Ohio State both make it. Georgia and then Clemson. I think Clemson, I think only Clemson, like I said, has that one loss against Notre Dame, and then they win the conference championship. So you'd have to put them in there. But yeah. So Georgia, Michigan, Clemson, Ohio State, and you had Georgia, Ohio State, Texas, and Michigan.
Correct. Yep.
Right. So
Yep.
yeah. So pretty similar there. Like I said, I don't know. Maybe it's the Missouri name from the Show Me State. I gotta see it. I gotta see it with my eyes before I can believe it, because I just can't do it. I'm just not gonna look at paper and say these guys should do this and should do this, and it to not happen. I just can't do it.
No, I understand completely, right? I seem to buy into the stats and the recruiting, the big names, a little bit more than I should, right? The Chargers get me every year. The Cowboys, of course, we've talked about this in this podcast, they get me every year because they have those rosters that should be able to do this. And I really like Texas's coach. I honestly don't see anything holding Texas back this year.
Yeah, we'll see. So we've got we got the top 4 teams, right? 1 through 4. So now let's break it down to see who comes out at top. So Chase, who is playing in the national championship and taking home that trophy?
Yeah, I have Georgia, Ohio State. I think Georgia gets the win over Michigan. I think they are the best team. I think they are one of the best teams in the nation. And then I have Ohio State beating Texas for Texas's first loss. Texas's journey, their back ends there against Ohio State. Ryan Day's been in the playoffs before. He knows the experience. With a beat-up roster, he almost beat Georgia last year. I think they have the potential to get a rematch in the conference championship. Or not the conference championship, the championship game.
And I'm sorry, you said who wins it all?
Ohio State. Ohio State beats Georgia.
Wow. Man. That would be wild.
Yes.
Yeah, so I've got since how mine done. So I've got, since I did Georgia, so Georgia and Ohio State, I'm at 1 and 4.
1-2.
I've got Georgia winning that one, and then I've got Michigan and Clemson as my 2 and 3, and I've got Michigan winning that one. So in the Natty, I've got Georgia versus Michigan. I'm picking Michigan.
Whew, Big Ten, let's go.
I'm doing it. I just listen, I'm Georgia's number 1 until they're not, and I think at that point in the Natty, I think is when they're not. I like Michigan at this point, just in that matchup. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. My gut is just telling me if that matchup happens, that Michigan be the one. Michigan has just been, it's tough because Michigan just, I almost don't want to pick it, but because Michigan has just been so close so many times. Like, they should not have lost to TCU last year.
No.
But they did. They played Georgia a season before that, and they lost. Like, they've just been having so many roadblocks and stuff. Jim Harbaugh cannot get over the hump. This year is the year. He gives everybody a middle finger for getting suspended for those cheeseburgers. And and Michigan in the Big Ten are going to win the Natty this year.
I'd be okay with that. I'm a kind of a Michigan, enthusiast, being a Big Ten guy. The only team I don't root for in the Big Ten is Nebraska, so let's go Michigan, right? Go blue.